Hello, good morning. It is Morning Coffee with Steve, episode 192 for Monday, September, is it 29th? No, 30th, September 30th, 2024. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily Patreon show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I've got my coffee in my cafe latte tall mug today. It's iced coffee today. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you actually may be wondering, what the heck is this show? Why is there 192 episodes of this? And why'd you say Patreon? Well, and also you may be wondering why audio-wise I'm even mentioning this. Well, I'm starting something new for my YouTube channel. I've been doing this show for an entire year over on my Patreon. If you want to be able to go check it out, I definitely recommend it because I love doing it. I've been doing this show every single day at patreon.com/Steve Saylor. It is a daily podcast that I talk about gaming news, like I said, accessibility news, if it comes up, and just updates about my life. I've been doing it as a audio and video show over there, but I decided to let's try something new. I want to be able to I've been wanting to be able to put this publicly for a long time, so I figured why not just do the video version on YouTube. I've been doing that for a long time, basically all this year. So I figured I'd just make it public, and the audio version, the exclusive audio version, will be available on Patreon only. So if you want to be able to listen to it, you can be able to support me on Patreon. But if you want to be able to watch it, you can be able to get this every single weekday. And I've been doing 192 episodes of it. So if you go to my Patreon, you can be able to listen to all 191 previous episodes of this show. And I decided to do that because, hey, my YouTube is not as, I don't know, it's been going through some weird growth phases right now. It's basically just out of college. It doesn't really know what it wants to do with its life, and so we're trying something new. Basically, I just wanted to be able to put up more content up on my YouTube channel regularly, on a regular basis. I'll still be doing reviews. I'll still be doing any accessibility previews I can be able to do, but now it basically just has this kind of like more consistent content every single weekday, as it were. And we'll be talking about basically gaming news throughout the entire week, whatever comes up basically throughout each day. And if there's an accessibility angle to it, you can be able to, I'll talk about that. Or just if I just want to update you on my life, because things have been kind of crazy as of late. So I just wanted to be able to kind of give a little bit of a more behind the scenes of what it's like in my life. And I figured, you know what, let's try something new. I'm kind of at a point where I'm at my YouTube channel right now. I'm just like, I just want to try new stuff. I've been doing the same old thing for a while. I want to try new stuff. So that's what this is. Anywho, basically, so I hope you had a good weekend. I kind of spent the majority of the weekend actually just working on Dungeons and Disabled, which you can be able to go at dungeonsanddisabled.com. I've been working on this secret TwitchCon project that I teased a little bit this weekend. I've started editing that episode, or at least that project, and so far it's turning out to be pretty good. Yeah. Originally, I had thought that I was going to actually release this after adventure, like the third adventure of Dungeons and Disabled, but I may actually change that a little bit. I may actually release that probably sometime in October. So stay tuned for that news. No housekeeping today, other than just the fact that this is going to be on the YouTube version is going to be available publicly on my YouTube channel instead of just only on Patreon, and the audio version will be exclusive to Patreon. Make sure to check that out. So let's talk about the news, and the way we're going to do it, basically the way I always do is I always just sort of have several sort of news stories that I talk about throughout the day or throughout the episode. And this will be about basically like a 20-30 minute episode ish, and that's usually kind of more the how long I usually kind of go for with this. So let's bring up the first story, which is coming from VGC. This is written by Chris Scullion. Todd Howard says Bethesda games are irresponsibly large, but he explains why. Howard, who serves as executive producer and director at Bethesda Game Studios and was recently game director on Starfield, recorded an interview with BAFTA speaking about the work. During the interview, he explained that the reason Bethesda games are so big is because the studio rarely cuts any content. My job on the games often is to be the director, a little bit like a movie director, he said, where you're bringing all the parts together from the art, the cinematography, the technology that our engineers are building to bring these worlds to life. And obviously, there's all of the writing and the quest design and the level designer, and there's so many parts to our games that I'm in a really unique position to work with so many amazing people and bring all that together. Smirking, he then added, actually, we cut very little from our games at Bethesda, which is why the games are so irresponsibly large. Wanted to be able to mention this. Starfield's first expansion, Shattered Space, is released today on Xbox Series X and S and PC. Now, if you remember my talking about basically Starfield, I did not have the highest praise for it when it came to the accessibility. You can really go check that out. It's actually on my YouTube channel if you want to be able to check out the accessibility review of Starfield. Now, granted, things have been improved since then, not necessarily to the point where it's more accessible than it was previously, like a little bit to a certain degree, but it's not fully accessible to a lot of players. But what I really kind of wanted to talk about was when he says that how irresponsibly large those episodes or those games are. Bethesda likes to be able to create a lot of storylines, a lot of quests, a lot of stuff to be able to do in their games. I mean, heck, that's why Skyrim is still popular today as it was when it first came out. I think in like 2015 is when it launched, so it's been out for almost 10 years, actually even more so. I don't know, I can't remember the exact timing of it, but it's had so many anniversary editions had so many like remasters. Like, it's been around, it's pretty much on every platform you can be able to play Skyrim on, and people still play it. I have friends who still play it on stream to this day, and it's one of those, it's because Bethesda puts so much care and so much effort into making their content, even side quests, as fun as pretty much as the main story, but also as well, there's also the creative aspect where fans can be able to create creative mods. Bethesda kind of gives the modding tools available so that you can be able to go and basically create your own creations. And there's been some amazing ones even in Starfield. I haven't tried specifically any of them because I'm not like, I like sort of like the clean default version of Starfield. I don't like to be able to add extra stuff in there just in case if things break, I don't know, and it kind of breaks an accessibility thing for me. But there is one that you can literally change the entire world into basically Star Wars. For instance, you can be able to basically become the Mandalorian, as it were, which is really cool. But what I love about with Bethesda, when they I wish they would add more accessibility in their games. Specifically Bethesda Game Studios. Bethesda as a publisher, they've been doing a lot of effort, put a lot of effort into making accessibility into a lot of their games. It's just Bethesda Game Studios, they haven't had the best track record with that. But what I do love the most is their side quests. They know how to be able to make side quests fun. The fact that there is one that I won't sort of spoil it for you, but basically it kind of turns you into a Batman in this universe. And you just discover this. It's not part of the path that you go to. It's just something you just randomly go to a spot and you discover this one random quest that turns out to be kind of like one of the best quests in the entire game. Like that is how a lot of Bethesda games are. Very much from Skyrim to Starfield to even Fallout. And that's the polish that I love about Bethesda, minus all the I guess the jank, quote unquote, and all the extra bit of like it's always buggy, doesn't really, the systems aren't super great, and there are games that have done these specific systems better. But one thing that at least that you know when you're jumping into a Bethesda game is that you're going to get you're jumping into a crafted world, or in Starfield's case, a well-crafted universe. So that's something that that I definitely do appreciate about Bethesda's games. So very cool. Anyway, go check out Shattered Space today. It is available for free as an update if you're playing this on Xbox Series X and S and PC. I do need to actually finish the game I got as far as I could because of the accessibility stuff, but I haven't really gone back and checked out any of the other new improvements. So I may go in and actually try to do it, because I would love to be able to check out the Shattered Space. It seems like this is going to be Bethesda at its best. All right, let's talk about Death Stranding news, because that is the episode title for today. Kojima says Death Stranding's 2 release date is decided, but he can't reveal it. Speaking during a special stage presentation for Death Stranding 2 on the beach, the director claimed that the release date for the game has been decided, but couldn't be announced during the presentation due to unforeseen circumstances. I haven't set the release date today, but the release date has already been decided, and I'm currently working on it in preparation for that. Since we're talking about 2025, it will be released next year, so we will announce it at some point next year. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, we cannot announce it today. Some fans have theorized that Kojima would announce the game's release date during the Game Awards 2024 due to his long-established relationship with TJ producer Jeff Keighley. It's also possible that Kojima is waiting for more information about 2025's biggest releases, which include Grand Theft Auto 6 and the release of Nintendo's next home console. Death Stranding 2 was announced in December 2022, with a reveal trailer at the Game Awards. The reveal trailer would confirm that Norman Reedus will be returning, as well as Leia Seydoux, who played the character Fragile in the first game. Troy Baker will also star. So Kojima had over the weekend his big sort of presentation about Death Stranding 2, and a lot of sort of like videos and cutscenes has been released on Kojima's own Twitter account. But that is one thing that he did mention, was in regards to the release date. It hasn't been decided, but he did say that it is going to be coming out next year, which still is in line with exactly kind of what we had already kind of assumed, that Death Stranding 2 was going to be coming out next year. This is going to be PlayStation sort of like one of its big exclusives for next year. We still don't know a lot about PlayStation's own exclusives for next year. Even with the state of play that just happened, we don't really have a huge sort of a look into it, other than Ghost of Yotei, which I did find out that it is pronounced Yotei, not Yotai is what I originally thought, but it's Yotei. That's how you pronounce it, by Sucker Punch. So we're getting that next year. And the fact that we're getting that plus Death Stranding 2, whew, man, next year's going to be big. I have a feeling next year's going to be pretty big. The fact that Xbox has like Fable, Doom, the Lost Ages, it's got I'm just blanking on Avowed. It's got like Xbox is basically gonna be all fantasy next year, and it seems that like PlayStation at least has one sort of sci-fi and one sort of historical game. Yeah, next year is going to be, I think it's going to be pretty big. Hopefully, fingers crossed that these games are going to be good, and also good for accessibility too. But yeah, this is not really a huge amount of news. I had hoped that this weekend, when this sort of Death Stranding 2 thing was announced for Tokyo Game Show, that we would get a release date. But I'd be very curious to see what that unforeseen circumstances is. Here's the thing about game dev, is that things pop up all the time and change last minute. So I'd be willing to bet that he probably did want to announce it and probably had plans to announce it during this presentation that he gave. But I'd be willing to bet that probably something that had changed sort of relatively like a couple of days, or at least relatively soon before the presentation, that he's like, okay, well, we can't just sort of announce the date, but it will be in 2025. So but speaking of just updates about Death Stranding 2, here is kind of a little bit of a brief sort of look into what it actually did announce. Kojima's, this again from VGC by Jordan Midler. Kojima details Death Stranding 2 photo shoot event and in-game dance number. Okay. Kojima. Announced during a special stage presentation for the game, which took place during the Tokyo Game Show on Sunday, the director showed off more of the game, including an in-depth photo shoot event. The photo shoot event, which can be viewed below, features characters Tomorrow, Ellie Fanning, and Rainy, Shioli Katsuna, and Fragile, Leia Seydoux. I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. I apologize. Posing with a stuffed toy of a CryptoBite. When the player takes the pictures, they will be saved as a Polaroid, which can be viewed later. Kojima claimed that the mode will have influence on the game's story, and that it would be better to take good pictures. How this will manifest in the game is unknown. A regular photo mode will also be featured in the game. So here's kind of a quick look at sort of this photo shoot. Now this this is something I'm like, okay, I know that like fanboys are going to be like, oh, okay, that's cute, that's hot, whatever. But here's the thing. What I love about this particular aspect is not necessarily that it's that, like, you know, it's cute, it's sexy, whatever. It's honestly, it's a new idea for photo mode, in that well, not necessarily a new idea. It's just the way that Kojima has sort of implemented it, in that you're getting these character models basically posing for the camera as if it is an actual camera and it is a photo mode. So this is like the characters interacting with the camera is something that I find interesting. And it's that kind of tech that I'm like, oh, that's a new take on photo mode that I kind of like. So yeah, sure, it's cute, it's sexy, it's whatever, it's exactly what it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to get fanboys excited. But I like it just for the tech aspect of it, and that's a cool feature. All right, according to Kojima, the game will also feature an in-game dance performance by Dachi Miura, which can be triggered by performing a specific action in the private room. The dance will be performed by Miura and a group of dollmen, played in the game by director Faith Aiken. The group will dance to the song Horizon Dreamer, which will be released on music streaming platforms on September 30th. I won't show it just in case of like if there is any copyright stuff, but it's basically just a bunch of little doll mans, which I love. I love the little if you look at this sort of the cinematics or this cutscenes that they have, I love that the doll man is animated in less like in basically like a 12 frame per second sort of style, as if it's sort of like stop motion in a sense, instead of the smooth 60 or 24 frames or whatever, or 30 frames per second that's shown in the game. I like that they're sort of twisting that sort of animation style with it. Now also there was a bunch of cutscenes that were also announced. There's one for Hartman, or there's also one that announced to sort of to get a little bit of a look at George Miller in the game, and there's a few other sort of cutscenes. So if you want to be able to go check them out, go to the Kojima's own Twitter account. He's been just posting literally just clips. Like, he's not even giving any context. It's just clips, like, of just cutscenes. So go check that out. I'll put a link to Kojima's Twitter account in the show notes for this. So, but also here's like if you're kind of curious about my thoughts on the accessibility of Death Stranding, or what my sort of interest might be in this. So I did do it actually a accessibility review, or at least impressions of Death Stranding Director's Cut. You'll go check that out on my YouTube channel. But I remember playing it and I was like, okay, the main issue I had was having to be able to, like, I understood the concept of the game. It's more of like a walking simulator, or at least a package delivery simulator, which I was like, oh, cool. Then there's like a really weird and wacky story, as Kojima's known to do, surrounding it. But the main thing was I had a particular, I don't know whether it's been improved or not. I have to take a look. It's been a minute since I've played it, but the fact that you have to basically use the trigger buttons in order to be able to balance yourself, and if you don't sort of like hold it or push it at a specific time, you may tip over and fall and potentially break some of your packages, as it were. And that I felt was kind of like a bit of an issue for motor disabled players, in that basically when you're having to be able to kind of keep constantly tapping those buttons, that I feel like, and especially if you have to do it kind of like in a sort of precise timing, I felt that was kind of a little bit harder to do, or a little bit more challenging to do, if you do have a motor disability, or if you do have trouble to be able to hold onto the controller and be able to push those two buttons. With that, like with the Axis controller that's come out, I'd be very curious to hear if you have played this with the Axis controller, if you've played Death Stranding with the Axis controller. I would love to be able to hear your thoughts on it, on how that has sort of helped out. If that did help out for you, And if so, what was sort of like the layout that you did in order to be able to make it work? Because that I'll be very curious about. Because as far as I remember, I don't think you can be able to remap those controls. It's basically pretty much locked into the trigger buttons. So, and it's also, so I will say, I think it's not the most accessible game. I think it could be better, and I wish that Kojima would sort of like take accessibility seriously. He does to a certain degree. I don't know. I just would love to be able to have a conversation with Kojima about accessibility, just to kind of like get his thoughts on it. And it just, I don't think that'll ever happen. I am very, very like not known in the industry enough to be able to be like, I could just call up Kojima and just ask. So who knows, maybe someday in the future I may be able to ask him about it, but we'll see what maybe he did learn, or he has sort of had taken accessibility into account with Death Stranding 2, because PlayStation is a very big proponent for accessibility. So maybe there was a little bit of an internal thing that was like, hey, Kojima, like Hideo-san, Kojima-san, like, can we take a look at this? And just kind of add it in. That'd be great. Anyway, that is where I'm going to end this episode for today. A little bit of a shorter-ish episode than I normally do. Normally I try to be able to get closer to the 30-minute mark, but just a little bit over 20 minutes. That's basically about it. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below, or just put a comment on Patreon. Again, if you want to be able to check out if you want to be able to get the audio version of this, make sure to go to patreon.com/Steve Saylor to be able to listen to this. Otherwise, I will appreciate a like or a comment, and please subscribe to this channel. I really, really appreciate it if you want to be able to get more updates from me, or more morning coffee with Steve, as it were. All right, thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.